Olympia's treasuries. The treasuries of the sanctuary of Olympia are located at the foot of the Kronios Hill in an area used for worship since prehistoric times. They stand on a purpose-built terrace which extends from the spring to the stadium, and date from the 7th to the mid-5th centuries BC. A porous staircase connecting the terrace with the altis below was constructed in the 4th century BC. Later a substantial buttressed retaining wall which defines the north limit of the sacred enclosure was raised behind the treasuries at the foot of the Kronios Hill. The treasuries were small temple-shaped buildings erected by various Greek cities for storing their precious offerings to Zeus. Pausanias describes some of these precious votive objects and mentions 10 treasuries, namely those of Sicyon, Syracuse, Epidamnos, Byzantium, Sybaris, Cyrene, Selinus, Metapontum, Megara and Gela. However, the foundations of 12 treasuries were uncovered during excavation and only 5 of these are identified with certainty: treasuries of Sicyon, Selinus, Metapontus, Megara and Gela. Most of the treasuries were dedicated by Greek cities in Italy, indicating the close ties between the sanctuary and the West. These simple buildings consist of a single chamber and a distile portico and antis facing south towards the sanctuary. The treasury of Gela to the far east is the only one with a hexastyle portico. The first treasury to the west, which measures 12.46 x 7.30 meters, was dedicated by Myron of Sicyon. The last 4 were dedicated by the people of Selinus, Metapontum, Megara and Gela. The remains of 2 small buildings identified as the sanctuaries of Aeolithe and of Aphrodite Urania lie to the west of the treasuries. The 8th building from the west was probably an altar to Gaia. Excavation of the treasuries yielded a great number of terracotta architectural members with striking painted decoration, and fragments of terracotta groups, including a satyr and Maenad, and the head of a sphinx, these latter probably from Acroteria. Several of these terracottas are displayed in the Olympia Archaeological Museum, and so is the pediment of the treasury of Megara, which has a depiction of the Gigantomachy. The monuments have been conserved. A votive deposit or votive offering is one or more objects displayed or deposited, without the intention of recovery or use, in a sacred place for broadly religious purposes. Such items are a feature of modern and ancient societies and are generally made in order to gain favor with supernatural forces. Some offerings have apparently been made in anticipation of the achievement of a particular wish, but in Western cultures from which documentary evidence survives it has been more typical to wait until the wish has been fulfilled before making the offering, for which the more specific term ex voto may be used. Votive offerings have been described in historical Roman era and Greek sources, although similar acts continue into the present day, for example in traditional Catholic culture, and arguably the modern-day practice of tossing coins into a wishing well or fountain. The modern construction practice called topping out can be considered as an example of a votive practice that has very ancient roots.